everyone, my name is Tori. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing a Q&A and I haven't done one in a while. I used to do them monthly, but I felt like they were getting repetitive and a little bit tedious, and they weren't, like, they were steadily getting less views, so I figured other people were thinking the same thing. So it's been a few months since I've done one, so I figured it's about time that I do a new one. I put a community post up on YouTube to gather some questions, and I got over 100, which is insane. So I will not be in any shape or form answering all of the questions I received. Not gonna happen. I will, however, answer some of the ones with the most likes, because those are the ones that I think you guys probably want to have answered the most since they have the most likes. I want to thank everyone that sent in questions ahead of time, because thanks. If you hear a AC on, or you hear if you hear pets drinking out of water bottles or running around, I'm sorry, but I'm in the pet room and there's noises. Someone's drinking out of the water bottle right now. I hear it. Pippin. I also feel like I'm constantly apologizing for the way I look, but listen, it's hot up here. I'm not putting on a full face of makeup. Y'all are lucky my hair is clean. So let's get started. So my first question is, how much should a hedgehog weigh? Baby hedgehog, adult hedgehog? Love your channel. So there isn't actually a exact weight that hedgehogs should be. It is generally based on shape. So a hedgehog should be kind of potato shaped and kind of rounded, not like a circle, but kind of like a potato. They generally want to be more on the chunky side than on the slim side, but that really depends on your hedgehog's build. Some hedgehogs are shaped more like a cucumber. They're long and thin, and that's just their body shape, and those hedgehogs usually have to be on higher fat foods so that they don't get underweight. They're usually more athletic. What you want to avoid is hedgehogs that have like this kind of shape, where their sides like cave in. That means that they are underweight, and the worse that cave in is usually a sign that they're like very underweight. And then if you're concerned that they're overweight, there are some things that can show that, like if they ball up and they can't close all the way, like if they can't fully cover their face, that can be a sign that they're overweight. They also can get like little fat rolls behind their armpits that a lot of people refer to as saddlebags, and those can be a sign that they have too much weight on them, and those can cause like chafing and things like that. That's a sign that they're overweight, so you want to watch for all of those things as well. But I'm sorry, there's not like a distinct number. They're kind of like humans. They vary in shapes and sizes. I was at a pet store and held a baby hedgehog. Now whenever I go back, he's still there and never lets anyone else hold him. Should I buy him even though he's from a pet store? This is a totally personal choice. I personally don't like buying particularly exotic animals from pet stores. That's just a personal choice. I'm not judging anyone that does, and if you decide you want that hedgehog, that is totally up to you. I would keep in mind that usually hedgehogs from pet stores have poor genetics, so you're gonna want to have like a vet fund lined up just in case something goes wrong. You might want to treat for mites when they come home, because a lot of pet store hogs have issues like that. So it's a totally personal choice, and I'm not judging you, and hopefully no one else is judging you if you decide to go buy it. How do you clip a timid hedgehog's nails? I really need to know. I actually have a video on how I clip a hedgehog's nails in the bath. I think it's called the bath method. Trying to make things sound official even though they're not. But yeah, that's how I clip a timid hedgehog's nails. If you don't want to do it in water, you can actually use like a cookie cooling rack and set them on it, particularly ones with like legs that are up off the ground, because when you set them on it, their legs will fall through. You have to work quickly with this because obviously you don't want them like struggling on a grate, but when their legs fall through, it's really easy to grab one, hold on, clip, and let it go, and then you can take them off the grate and give them a minute to calm down. How much food do you give your hedgehog? Amount and daily. Also, can you give them hedgehog food and not cat food? Okay, so I give my hedgehogs between 1 tablespoon and 2 tablespoons every single day. They're adults. Babies, I would free feed, unless they're having weight issues. Like if they're chunky little dudes, maybe don't free feed, even if they're babies. But yeah, so I free fed before about 6 months, and then after about 6 months, it was about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons every night. One of my hedgehogs does get up during the day, so I sometimes make sure that he has food, but the other hedgehog sleeps all day long, doesn't get up until the lights are out, so I only feed him at night. And no, you shouldn't be feeding hedgehog food at all. It's junk. Like, if you just look at the ingredients of the hedgehog foods, you'll see very clearly that there is really nothing in those foods that are going to be more beneficial to them than a cat food. You can even technically feed dog foods. The problem with dog foods is they're usually designed for dogs, so they have bigger kibbles. That's why people say cat food. That's why I generally recommend cat food and not dog food. But yeah, you really don't want to feed a hedgehog food, and you don't want to feed a low quality cat food either. That's not going to be better than a hedgehog food. You need a high quality. Whoop, my cat just jumped on top of the hedgehog cage. But you want a high quality cat food. That way they're actually benefiting from what they're eating and not just surviving on it. Out of all of your pets, who takes the most upkeep? My guinea pigs, 100%, are the absolute most work of any of the pets in this house, including my dogs. My guinea pigs are more work than my dogs. Guinea pigs need constant cage maintenance. They need their cage cleaned at least twice a day. At least mine do, because they're on fleece. They need to be fed multiple times a day, unless you're piling everything in the cage at once, but I like to separate when I feed pellets, veggies, and then they need hay all day long, so I'm constantly checking on them. What is my cat getting into? I'm filming with the door open so that it's not as hot in here, and everyone's getting into things. But yeah, my guinea pigs are the absolute maintenance, or are the absolute most work when it comes to maintenance. They, my cat's being really cute right now. Can you guys see him? Hold on. You see his little head? He's just like, I think he's smelling the bugs. Please talk about male hedgehogs and their special times. I've got a 1-year-old and I've heard about the joys of it. So any tips of cleaning up after them and things to be cautious of would be great to hear. Okay. So she is referring to, so this isn't a topic that I tend to talk about a lot on my channel because I do know that I have kids on here, but males and female hedgehogs, they do have alone time, which is, I'm referring to masturbation, and I am feeling very awkward discussing it because I know I have kids on here, but it is part of a hedgehog's life that you'll have to be aware of, and yeah. So cleanup tips, I have none. When hedgehog semen dries, it is like glue and it sticks to things. It sticks to fleece particularly, and unfortunately I don't have a ton of tips on how to get it off of that. Soaking sometimes helps. Oh my god, let me get my cat, because look at this. Just like constantly getting into things. Absolute worst. So yeah, soaking sometimes helps with the fleece items. If you soak it in really hot water, that can help kind of loosen things, and then you can pull it off, unfortunately, with like your fingers. It's just kind of part of life, particularly if you have a male hedgehog, and then the females do it too, but they don't tend to leave a mess. If your hedgehog gets it in their fur, which is something that I have to deal with a lot with my boys. You soak them in warm water, just their bellies, and then you kind of have to pull it out with your fingers. It is not the most pleasant thing that you have to do, but you do get used to it. It is just part of owning a hedgehog. If you really never want to deal with hedgehog semen, then get a female. Females do it as well, but like I said, they don't tend to leave evidence everywhere. So yeah, that was a very awkward topic to cover on my channel, but hopefully I answered any questions you might have had. Yeah. What happens if the protein percentage of the cat food for a hedgehog is higher than recommended? So hedgehogs can have about 30 to 35% protein, and desirability wise, you really want it in like the 30 to 33% range. Like, you want it lower than 35, you don't want it at 35 really. And honestly, what happens to them is the same thing that can happen to pretty much any mammal if you put too much protein in their diets. It can cause liver failure and fatty liver disease. It is incredibly difficult on their livers. In fact, my hamster was on Missouri Rat and Mouse, but as he's gotten older, that is way too high in protein. It's like 23%. So I had to put him on a food that is like 18%, so that he wasn't having so much of a hard time digesting all of that protein, because it's really, really hard on your liver. So it's really important to have a food that is within the levels that they need. Even if like the only food you can find has like 28% and then the other one has like 36%, go with the 28% one, because you really, really don't want to be giving them a ton of that like processed protein that's from cat food. Is it okay to have two brother hedgehogs in the same cage? No, 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 no. Male hedgehogs should never live together. They can and will fight eventually, even if they look bonded now. It only takes like 2 seconds for them to get irritated at each other and attack. Male hedgehogs are extremely territorial when other hedgehogs are around, and it is just not a good idea. Even brothers, just don't do it. It's not worth the risk. It is so much safer to have them housed separately. They're solitary by nature anyway. Would you recommend a kibble-free diet for a hedgehog if you could provide good quality meat, live insects, and vegetables? No. There isn't enough about hedgehogs right now to give a completely kibble-free diet. It's kind of like with dogs and cats, for example, who go on raw feed or homemade diets. There is enough research into what they require to formulate a diet at home. However, there isn't enough research for a hedgehog. However, you can make a diet for them that is only supplemented by kibble. I will put the link to a Facebook group down below that has a lot of members that do raw diets for their hedgehogs, and some more home formulated diets. They're mostly European based, but it's slowly progressing over to the US. Our care standards are very, very behind here for most things. So, but even they try and do as mostly natural as possible, but even they supplement with kibble, because there is a lot we don't know about a hedgehog's diet, and there is a lot that could go wrong making your own. So I'll link that group down below. You should check it out, and just kind of scroll through the old posts. It's a relatively new group, and there's not a ton of people in it or a ton of posts, but there's a lot of information to be gained from some of the members in there. That's it for today's Q&A. This is probably going to be way too long. I think I answered more questions than I had planned on, so oops. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below and I can answer them in the comments. Next time I do a Q&A, I'll let you guys know. I'm probably not going to go back to doing them every single month, because that's a lot of repetitive stuff. But if you guys are curious about some of the other comments that I've answered in the past, I've probably answered a ton of the comments that were left on that post in my previous Q&As. I will have the playlist linked down below. And yeah, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye, guys.
I'm a lonely, hard feline.
I take what's mine and I leave behind.